Let's talk to two guests on very different sides of the Brexit divide on what they think is going to happen. Peter Bone is a Conservative MP. He's also a member of the Future Relationship with the European Union Select Committee. And Christine Jardine is a Lib Dem MP and spokeswoman for the Treasury, Brexit Europe and Trade for the party. You have to double up on a lot of those jobs. Only a few MPs left there, Christine. But Peter, obviously a well-known Brexiteer, and Christine, renowned Remainer. But good morning to you both. Let's start with you first, Peter. We spoke to the DUP Sammy Wilson only an hour ago, and basically they feel that they've been sold down the river when it comes to Brexit in terms of the withdrawal agreement. Boris Johnson now saying that it needs to be rewritten. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, saying this is a matter of trust. You signed this deal, you can't row back on it. All the MPs agreed to the deal when they stood as candidates back in December. How can the Prime Minister row back on that deal now?
I'm not sure he's rowing back on the deal.
Isn't he?
No, well, don't forget the deal said, the political declaration, that we would that there'll be a free trade agreement between the EU and the UK. That hasn't happened because the EU haven't acted in good faith, and all the government is doing is ensuring that there is frictionless trade as much as possible within the United Kingdom internally, and that's sensible. And they're actually making sure that the government is making sure that the Good Friday Agreement, Belfast Agreement, is honoured in that regard. So I don't see any contradiction in that. What should happen, of course, is by the 15th of October, there should be a comprehensive free trade agreement. Then the backup measures that the government is planning to put in place won't be necessary because there'll be a free trade agreement, and that will solve most of the problems. So, and I actually think that's what's going to happen because it's in the interest of the UK and it's in the interest of the EU. And I think we're going to get one.
As many Brexiteers have said, Christine Jardine, Peter's saying, look, it's the EU that's not acting in good faith. And indeed, under the Article 50 provisions, it's very clear if any country does trigger Article 50 and leaves, there is a legal requirement under the Treaty of Lisbon for there to be proper negotiations and for reasonable efforts to be made to do a deal. Is the EU acting in good faith when they insist on still having complete full access to our fishing waters and expect to have a say over how we spend state aid or not when we'd be out of the EU?
Well, what we've seen so far is that this government's handling of the whole thing has been disastrous. I mean, over the last 4 years, we've seen them, play lapdog to Donald Trump and, ideological games of the future of the country. And at the moment, we all know that we're in the middle of this crisis with COVID-19, which is the worst crisis. We thought Brexit was bad, but COVID-19 has been the worst crisis since the Second World War, probably longer. And, to be playing these games at this time is ridiculous. This is not about leave or remain. This is about what's best for the country now, the best possible negotiations. And what the government should have done was, because of the difficulties that we face with COVID-19, the problems that we're going to have coming up, they should have said, hang on a minute, we need a longer transition period to negotiate this properly, rather than all this sabre rattling and, threatening and, at this time when we've already got enough problems.
Oh, Christine, I mean, we've heard this for so many years. I mean, are you Ramonas ever going to give up?
Say that again, sorry?
Are you Ramonas ever going to give up every single attempt to stop the enactment of a democratic referendum result?
Julia, I just said it's not about leave or remain anymore. That's not the argument.
No. You lost. Look, come on. You said the government handling has been disastrous. Christine, what was disastrous was the Liberal Democrats saying they would basically overturn the referendum result back in December, which is why you did so badly in the general election, lost a load of your MPs.
Julia, we've moved on, and we
have you though?
Yes, because what I've been saying is that this is not about leave or remain. This is about getting the best possible deal now for the United Kingdom. And this is not what this government is doing.
But hold on a minute. What you want is you've lost the argument to the referendum. You lost the ability to stop Brexit. All the efforts that Lib Dems joined in doing that. You took a gamble, lost that. We left on to January the 31st, but we're in a transition period. To all intents and purposes, we are still living as if we're in the EU, and you just want us to go on doing that in perpetuity. You do, don't you? That would be your ideal right now.
This is just ridiculous. This is moving the goalposts. The discussion is about what is going wrong with the negotiations.
Okay.
And that is what I came on here to talk about.
That is what I wanted you to talk about. But you just talked about extending the transition. But this is the thing, Peter. We come back to this, don't we? That whenever we talk about the deal, the negotiations and things, the argument from people who wanted us to remain and haven't accepted the referendum result is always we need a longer period to negotiate. Would that be the solution in your view?
Well, you're right. That's what they do want. What Liberal Democrats seem to have forgotten is that we left on the 31st of January.
Christine did accept that, to be fair.
And there were tens of thousands of people in Parliament Square celebrating it. I think you and I were there.
It was a great night. I'm still recovering from the hangover.
It was a great night. But the thing, what's sad about the Liberal Democrats and other people who don't accept the referendum result, they should be cheering on the British government and saying, EU, why are you not treating us like an independent country? Why do you want to take our fish? Why do you want to impose your state aid rules on us? You don't do that with any other country in the world. Why are you trying to force that? I would like to see the opposition parties supporting the government and calling out the EU.
Okay,
why aren't they saying that the EU are not negotiating in a fair and reasonable way?
Christine, let's put that question to you.
Which question?
Why are you not backing the ability of the UK government, whether you voted for it or not, to get a good deal? And why are you not calling out the EU for putting ridiculous requests like, we want French and Spanish trawlermen to be able to fish in UK waters as they are under the EU after we leave as a sovereign nation state? I mean, some of these demands are utterly ridiculous.
Well, funnily enough, you talked earlier on about, people wanting or not wanting remain. One of the most vocal sectors of our society in supporting it were the fishermen because of the common fisheries policy, which did need changed. It wasn't good. And what I don't want to see now is our fishermen sold down the river. And I wouldn't like to think that a British government would make the excuse that it's the EU. What I'm saying is that we've left. Peter is saying we've left the EU. You're saying we've left the EU. My representative in this negotiation to get the best deal for me, for you, for our children, our friends, our family, is the UK government. Those are the people that we are depending on to get a good deal for us in this. And at the moment, they're not doing it. Now, that is my issue. The EU, as Peter pointed out, we're no longer members of the EU. They don't represent you and I, but the British government do. And we deserve better than we're getting from Boris Johnson.
Peter, there is a concern. We see the DP reckon Northern Ireland has been sold down the river. There is going to be a concern from many Tory MPs who signed up to the withdrawal agreement that this is an issue of trust, and that the withdrawal agreement, it was in writing, that was the deal. And if the internal market bill that's going to be published tomorrow does actually change some of the plans, rules for Northern Ireland customs, state aid and the like, that this will be a breach of trust, and that will have implications for future trade negotiations and deals with other countries, other blocs outside the EU. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, I think Sammy Wilson is a great politician and been a hugely supportive Brexiteer. And what the government is doing is putting in a safety net in case the EU doesn't honour its commitment to complete a free trade agreement. I was listening there to what was being said, and the argument was we mustn't give away our fishing rights. I think that was the Liberal Democrat position. Well, that's exactly what the government is saying. So get behind the government and call out the EU for an absolutely ridiculous and unacceptable. I think the latest view of the EU is that the waters are yours, but the fish are ours. I mean, that is just madness. So I would, if all the opposition parties got behind the government, wouldn't it make it much easier to get a free trade deal?
Okay.
And the reason the government is putting these backup plans is because of the EU and for no other reason.
And let me ask you, just final question, Peter Bone, 5-week deadline to the 15th of October set by Boris Johnson. In fact, I mean, it's a realistic deadline because you have to then start having contingency plans for a no-deal Brexit and WTO rules from the 1st of January. So it's not an unreasonable early deadline. Many thought we should have had a deal by June if we were going to get one and have time to prepare. Do you think there will be a free trade deal of some sort with the EU by the 15th of October?
Absolutely, because the EU need a deal more than us. They send £100 billion worth more goods to us than we do to them. It's in everyone's interest. It will be done. They're just trying to get as much out of us as they can before the deal.
Christine Jardine, do you think there'll be a deal done by 15th of October?
I hope so, because I don't think we can bear the thought of crashing out of the EU without a deal when we're already in the economic mess we're in.
Hold on a minute, Christine. I've got to fill out my Brexit bingo card because you said crashing out. If you say cliff, then I get an extra cup of coffee this morning from the team.
Well, if you need an extra cup of coffee, I'm happy to say cliff under any circumstances. We can talk about cliff anybody. But, I think, Peter there mentioned, talks about Northern Ireland. That's a massive worry. I mean, the Northern Ireland Agreement has been a huge part of this discussion from the very beginning. And, the fact that the government might go back on this agreement, I think is horrific for the people in Northern Ireland.
Right, thank you very much to both of you. A Brexiteer, Peter Bone, Tory MP, and a Remainer, Christine Jardine for the Liberal Democrats. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.